जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 46 of chapter number 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. But before starting today's discussion, I would like to let you know that today is the most auspicious occasion of the appearance of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Wish you all a very happy Srila Prabhupada appearance day. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came or when he appeared in this world 500 years back at the holy land of Navadvip, then he predicted at that time that Prithivite ache jitavadadigram sarvatra prachar hoibe more naam. The meaning of this verse is, in every town and village in all over the world, my name will be chanted. So later on, by the instruction of the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then Srila Prabhupada in 1965 took that journey that brought him to United States of America, and then later on he established, after a lot of struggle, he established ISKCON, and then he made like about 108 temples all over the world. And also he made thousands of devotees or disciples which sincerely practiced the instructions which were given by Lord Krishna. So there were thousands of devotees all over the world. And also Srila Prabhupada painstakingly translated so many literatures which were there available in Sanskrit. He translated them to English so that it is easily accessible to all of us. So on this most auspicious occasion of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, I offer my prayer on behalf of all of us, so that Srila Prabhupada becomes our guide and he gives us necessary strength and intelligence so that we can scrutinizingly study his books and will be able to apply his instructions in our life and make our life successful. Then the success of our life will be to go back to Godhead, to Lord Sri Krishna's Vaikuntha Dham, Goloka Dham. So with this, we will continue now with our discussion on verse number 46. Thank you. So here we see in verse number 46, Arjuna is actually overwhelmed with grief, and he cast aside his bow and arrow and sat down in the chariot. So before that, what happened in the previous verse, in the last two verses, we saw that Arjuna is discussing with Lord Krishna that he's saying that we are ready to kill our relatives. And why are we ready to kill our relatives? This is in verse number 44. Because we are driven by the desire to enjoy the royal happiness. And that lobha of enjoying the royal happiness is driving us to even kill our relatives, our swajana. But Arjuna knows that this is going to cause sinful reactions. So out of the fear of getting sinful reaction, he is saying then in verse number 45, it is better to die in the battlefield unarmed. Even if the sons of Dhritarashtra, they kill him, they come up with their arms and then they try to kill him, he will not do pratikar. He is not going to respond to their attack. So let them then kill Arjuna. So that is what he is thinking. And with that thoughts, he is now silent. He becomes silent and then he puts aside his bow and arrow, which is shown in this picture. So this is being now narrated. This verse particular is now narrated by Sanjaya. We can see that Sanjaya is narrating this verse to Dhritarashtra. This is in Hastinapur. In Sanjaya's heart, we can see, Sanjaya could see what is going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So by the mercy of Vyasdev, he could see what is going on. So he is explaining to Dhritarashtra that Arjuna is now completely morose and he is now He has put down his bows and arrow and he's like lamenting right now. So let's read the verse. The Sanskrit is Sanjaya Vacha Evam Uktva Arjuna Sankhe Rathopasta Upavisat Visrajyasa Sam Chapam Soka Samavigna Manasa. So the translation goes as, Sanjaya said, O Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bows and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So Sanjaya Vacha means Sanjaya said, Evam Uktva Arjuna Sankhye. Evam means thus, Uktva means saying, and Arjuna means Arjuna, of course, and Sankhye in the battlefield. So after this, after the last statement which was given by Arjuna, that it is better that they kill me and I am not going to react or respond to that. So after that, what Arjuna do? What did he do? So then Rathopasta Upavisat, that is the second line B. He says that he sat down back on his chariot, right? And in the middle of, if you recall, in the middle of the chapter 1, Arjuna is saying to Krishna that Senaya Robhara Madhye Ratham Stapaya Me Achyuta. So he is requesting Lord Krishna, whose name is Achyuta. O Krishna, O Achyuta, please place my chariot in the middle of the battlefield. So that was his request. And when Krishna did that, when Krishna brought the chariot in the middle of the battlefield, what happened? He stood up. Arjuna stood up to see who has come to fight. So the same Arjuna who stood up to see at that time to who has come to fight has now sat down. Rathopasta Upavisat, when he sat down on his chariot. So normally when somebody stands, it indicates there is a action that is about to happen. So herein we see that Arjuna is now sitting. He is sitting down. The indication is that the action is going to stop, or action has come to an end. He is saying that he is in no mood of fighting anymore. Further, Arjuna is saying, Visrijyasa saram chapam, putting aside his queues of arrows and the Gandiva bow. So Gandiva bow, we know that it was already slipping from his hand. Earlier this description was given, that Gandiva was slipping from his hand. And there is some nice pastime about the Gandiva bow, about Arjuna. So it goes as this. In Mahabharata, actually it is described that Arjuna had taken a vow to kill anyone who even suggested that he put down his bow. So an incident related to that happened in Mahabharata later during the war which was going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and this vow of Arjuna was tested. So what happened was, during the battle, Karna defeated severely and injured Yudhishthira. So Karna then taunted Yudhishthira, saying that you are not even a Kshatriya. You should learn how to fight. See how easily I have defeated you. I am not even going to bother to kill you. You are so weak, so I am not going to even kill you. And then the Yudhishthira, who was actually injured, he went back to his camp. So when Arjuna heard that Yudhishthira got injured, he immediately left the battlefield and went to Yudhishthira's tent. Upon hearing that Arjuna had left the battlefield, Yudhishthira concluded that Arjuna is avenging his honor and already killed Karna and now coming to inform me. So Yudhishthira thought like that when he heard that Arjuna is coming to the tent. But that wasn't true actually. Arjuna had left in the middle of the battlefield only to check, what's going on with Yudhishthira. Is he injured or what happened to him? So as soon as Yudhishthira saw Arjuna, he asked, have you killed Karna and avenged me? So Arjuna said, no, I did not kill Karna. I only came to see how badly you were hurt. So Yudhishthira was actually very furious hearing that. He said, you have left the battlefield without even killing Karna. How coward you are. How could you have done this? It is better that you give up your Gandiva bow. Upon hearing his words, Arjuna became enraged and thought that how dare Yudhishthira suggest me to give up my Gandiva bow, which is more dear to me than my life. I have vowed to kill anyone who has asked me to put my Gandiva bow down. So then Arjuna drew his sword to slay his brother. Krishna, who was there watching, immediately caught Arjuna's arm and said, all right, you don't have to kill Yudhishthira. It is your vow, but kill him by insulting him. So insulting a Kshatriya means it's just like killing him. So for a Kshatriya, insult is actually worse than death. So as Yudhishthira sat regretting his words to Arjuna, Arjuna angrily approached him and said, you say that I am coward because I left the battlefield without killing Karna. But look what you have done. You looked on our wife Draupadi when she was insulted. I would have alone killed the entire Kaurava army, but you didn't allow me to do that. You are not even a man. You are not even a king. So he is insulted Yudhishthira left and right like that. So Arjuna, after finished hurling his insults at Yudhishthira, then he quickly touched Yudhishthira's feet and begged forgiveness for his words. So we see that Arjuna had not lightly made his Gandiva vow. He has taken a vow that anybody who says anything against this Gandiva, I'm going to kill him. Therefore, it is very significant that Arjuna, who has taken such a vow, he has cast aside his bow and he sat down on the chariot, and his mind, which is overwhelmed with grief. So this is what is the last line. Soka samvigna manasa. Arjuna's mind is completely disturbed by soka. Soka means lamentation. So this is a very sad situation for Arjuna. He has sat down now, completely confused. So in life, this kind of situation happens. So when Srila Prabhupada, after giving the first initiation, he said that now you should not lament. Why you should not lament? He is saying to his disciples, since you have given the reins of your chariot to Krishna. The body is like a chariot and Krishna is the controller of the chariot. So now, because Krishna has intervened in your life and he is going to control your life, now you should not lament. So, but here we see, though Krishna is there with Arjuna, Arjuna is lamenting. But there is a purpose behind this. Actually, Krishna is initiating those kind of thoughts in Arjuna's mind, so that he can speak Bhagavad Gita. That was the reason. So another important discussion should be about the Gandiva bow. So Arjuna, when he upraised his Gandiva bow, when he took the Gandiva bow in his hand, so that represents the living entity's determination to serve Krishna. So this slokas or the actions have multiple meanings, and acharyas, they give meanings behind them, and which we can actually relate in our day-to-day life. So the representation of Gandiva bow being lifted is the living entity's determination to serve Krishna. So Arjuna came with the Gandiva bow upraised to serve Krishna. But then by the Pratyaksha and Anuman, Pratyaksha means by seeing, he lost his determination. So when we look at this world and give our own reasoning that do God exist, or do God care about us, I don't see the God, and many such things like that, I have to do practical things in this world. So this Pratyaksha and Anuman, they eat our determination. And then how that determination which has been destroyed is brought back, so that is revived using Sabda. So Sabda actually revives our determination. Sabda nourishes our determination. So Arjuna turns to Krishna, and then Krishna will now going to speak the Bhagavad Gita. So at the end, we'll see that as Arjuna has put down the bow and arrow and everything he lost his total determination. But then Arjuna is actually going to pick up this, and he's going to pick up after hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita from the Lord. So then when he picks the bow and arrow up, that means he got back his determination. He got back his strength. So we get the strength, we get our determination to serve Krishna, and that can be restored with the Shabda which we hear from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this is the end of Arjuna Vishada Yoga. However, Arjuna is going to continue with few more verses arguing about why he should not fight, and then finally he surrenders to Lord Krishna. And after surrendering to Lord Krishna, then Lord Krishna will start instructing him in chapter number 2. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada is talking about this particular verse in his purport. So Prabhupada talks about the first point, which is Arjuna's mental state. So while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrow. So this is what we already discussed, that he saw his relatives, but he gave his argument that he doesn't want to fight. And then finally, with that lamentation, he sat down, indicating that he totally lost his determination to fight. Right? And then the next point Srila Prabhupada is talking about is Arjuna's qualification to receive spiritual knowledge. So this place, at this point of time, we have seen that Arjuna is such a kind and soft-hearted person, and in the devotional service of the Lord, this is a fit to receive self-knowledge. So being soft-hearted, kind, having compassion, renunciation, so all this thing, including, he was also willing to forgive all the atrocities they have committed towards the Pandavas. So there are so many good qualities. These are the good or wonderful qualities that devotees actually manifest. And when somebody actually manifests this kind of quality, they are the right candidate to receive spiritual knowledge, because their heart is soft, and the seed of devotional or spiritual knowledge can be sown into this kind of field, which is a ripened field, and then the fruits or the trees can easily grow. The tree of devotional service can easily nurture in this kind of environment. So this is what is required for somebody who wants to attain spiritual knowledge should have or must have these saintly qualities. So all the saintly qualities of Arjuna, they are all summarized in this nice chart of kind of thing by Gauranga Priya Prabhu. So here in the first saintly quality was soft-heartedness in verse number 28, and then he is not even ready to kill his relatives in exchange of these three worlds. That is verse 35. And then he's ready to forgive aggressors, 1.36. Then he's considering that the evil consequences even at the risk of refusing the obligation to fight, 137-38. Then conscious of the obligation to protect family tradition and morals. So he was thinking that, if the elderly members will be killed, then the persons who are responsible for performing all the purificatory act, they will all die. And then that will give rise to Varna Shankara. So all those discussions we had in the past verses. So that indicates that he's conscious about the obligations, for the current generation and for the forefathers. And then later on, the sixth point is he's ready to kill unarmed but not retaliate. Right? So these are, and then there are few more things. So the conclusion is such a kind of and soft-hearted person is fit to receive transcendental knowledge. So this is given in the purport, right? So this shows that Arjuna is the right candidate to receive the knowledge. So similarly, if we want to study Bhagavad Gita and receive this knowledge, then we have to develop these qualities. So these qualities, we have to be careful about scrutinizingly read all these points, and then to gradually build these qualities in our life. So that will make our heart ripen for the seed to be sown. So with this, we'll stop here, and then we'll continue with chapter number 2 in the future sessions. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.